Zipper rolls out to the right, pitches off to Taylor, and Taylor's to the 20, down to the 15, down to the 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Billy Taylor! Touchdown, Billy Taylor! Billy Taylor scored a touchdown from 21 yards out. The crowd goes berserk. It was November 22nd, 1969. That they came to Barry, Michigan, all dressed in maize and blue. The words were said, the prayers were read, and everybody cried. But when they closed the coffin, there was someone else inside. Oh, they came to Barry, Michigan, but Michigan wasn't dead. And when the game was over, it was someone else instead. 11 Michigan Wolverines put on the gloves of gray, and as the organ played the victors, they laid Woody Hayes away. Under center is Wangler at the 45. He goes back. He's looking for a receiver. He throws downfield to Carter. Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Welcome to the Michigan Man Podcast on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew, for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue, and welcome to our Michigan Game Day show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. With us in just a minute or two will be Chris Balas from the Wolverine magazine and the Wolverine on 3. Before that, let's get it started with my view from Section 17. It's week 3 already. We're 2-0. Jim has one more game to serve on his suspension, and the ship has run smoothly without him. This week, Sharon Moore takes the helm as we conclude the pre-Big Ten portion of the schedule. Scott Loeffler and his BG Falcons will provide the opposition under the lights at the Big House. It seems like there are always pieces of our game to worry about. The run game could be better. Will we have more receivers start stepping up in the coming weeks to help Cornelius and Roman? Will our secondary be healthy soon? Etc., etc. Those worries aside, the first 2 games have shown us this team is fast, physical, and deep at all position groups. Some will say BG is a walk-through kind of a game, but Jim and staff know it's more than that. They have some players, and they will give us their best shot. But if we're being honest, this should be our last opportunity for the starters to sharpen their skills and then get as many young guys on the field as possible. The environment under the lights will be electric, and when the night ends, we should be 3-0 and ready for a grueling Big Ten season. At his Monday presser, Jim took some time to talk about his quarterback and what he's seen from JJ so far.
JJ is phenomenal. So on fire, so on point. The throws that he is making, from the pocket. Doing severe damage when he leaves the pocket, keeps his eyes downfield, and getting big chunk plays and yardage. Receivers, the explosive plays, the plus 15s. Are just huge. The kind of throws he's making too. They're NFL caliber throws into tight windows. The accuracy is off the charts. He's putting balls 6 inches in front of the number. Even the throws that are covering 30, 40 yards. They're right on the number. A real runner's ball where the receiver can catch and run, like you saw in the 47-yarder to Roman Wilson.
Jim also shared his thoughts on why the running game hasn't clicked so far.
It's a combination of everybody. We got to block better in the perimeter. We got to get the safeties better blocked by our wide receivers. Tight ends are really playing well. Offensive line, we're missing a guy here. It's one guy in a play. Guys are coming off the second level and making plays. And running backs. When I say a guy here, a guy there, it's a miscut here, it's a miscut there. But it's something that we're very focused on and emphasizing.
Sharon Moore also talked about being head coach this week and what it means to him.
As far as the opportunity from coach, man, it's an honor to represent this university, represent these players, and it's really not about me. It's really about the players. That's all it's really about. So I just want to have a chance to just make sure we're doing everything right on game day. But it's not about me. It's not about Never will be about me, not about a coach even. He'll say it's about our players and this university.
As well as we've played so far, we know improvement is needed in several areas. My guest today says getting the running game started and the defensive secondary healthy will only make this team even more dangerous. With us next is Chris Balas from the Wolverine magazine and the Wolverine on 3. So stay with us. Here with us on our Michigan Game Day segment this week to take a look back at the UNLV game and then ahead to the Bowling Green game Saturday night is Chris Balas from the Wolverine magazine and the Wolverine on 3. Great to get you on, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike. Always appreciate it.
Well, there's a lot going on through the first 2 weeks. Let's start with some of your observations, Chris, right now. Talk about J.J. McCarthy because I know we heard Jim say in the preseason Big Ten media days that he was a generational kind of a quarterback. And, it's been ECU and UNLV, but still, has he been amazing or what?
Yeah, he looks the part, right? And I wrote a column just a few minutes ago, is he on track to be the best quarterback in Michigan history? And as a historian yourself, we can go back and think of guys who played here and played in the pros and had elite careers, but has anybody really done it the way that McCarthy's doing it as both a runner and a passer, a guy who's beaten Ohio State twice already, once as a starter? I said if he does it again and leads them to another Big Ten championship and continues to put up the numbers he's putting up, I think when it's all said and done, he might be the number one guy on my list. And we did a poll recently, and I think Jim Harbaugh was the guy that people cited as number one, and he's reminiscent of him in that he can move, keeps his eyes downfield when he's scrambling, navigates the pocket. Now this is where he's improved the most, in my opinion, navigating the pocket and where he's putting the ball. His ball placement has been sick, and there's a huge difference between a receiver having to reach back or stop for a ball or catching it in stride, as we saw on Roman Wilson's 47-yard run for a touchdown. He put it right where it needed to be, and Roman Wilson didn't need to slow down, and that's why he goes 47 yards instead of 20-something. So that's how good he's been. His arm looks stronger. He worked out in the offseason. We know last year he had the shoulder issue that he was working through, but now he just looks like the real deal. He looks like a first-round draft pick, and now we just need him to stay healthy, Mike. I hate to even bring that up, but as Sharon Moore said, Michigan's offensive coordinator the other day, he said, when I see him run, I tell him to get down or get out of bounds, and I'm right there with him.
Amen, because he did take a good shot there. I think it was end of the first half on Saturday.
Yes, he did. A couple of them actually were a guy was rolling up on his knees as well, and every time that happens, you kind of hold your breath, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like there's a clear number two behind him this year, but boy, has he been good.
Yeah, absolutely. He has been brilliant. We'll see on Saturday if it continues. Hard to believe you can keep throwing at that percentage and on the dime like that, but hey, if he does, I'll take it.
Amazing.
Well, Chris, as far as the receiving core goes, I mean, we know that, a lot of fans before the season started were questioning, hey, do we have the guys that are going to go up and get the jump ball and take that receiving core to the next level? But, through the first couple of weeks, Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson, they really are playing big time, aren't they?
They are. And again, you have to take the competition into account. And last week, there was a 3-man rush and you had 8 guys sitting back there, and those guys were still finding holes in the zone. They weren't really challenged. And what I really want to see is them play, and I think we'll probably see it against Rutgers, a team that tries to play them more straight up with their corners and tries to make them gain separation that way rather than letting JJ pick them apart that way. But you can only play what's in front of you. And what we've seen from these guys, they're catching the ball. They're making tough catches in traffic and getting hit. Colston Loveland, that will add to that group because he's almost like a wide receiver out there as your tight end, the way that he's catching the ball in traffic and making plays. But Roman Wilson's the guy that's really elevated his game, and I couldn't be happier for him. You can see him getting off the line of scrimmage better. He's stronger. He's making those contested catches. Has had a couple of them knocked out of his hands, but at the same time, he and McCarthy seem to be on the same wavelength when it comes to plays breaking down and him keeping routes alive or breaking off his route, getting to somewhere where McCarthy can find him. It's been fun to watch, and we haven't even seen the deep ball yet. That was something that I was talking about earlier with a couple of other of my colleagues, is that haven't even taken any downfield shots, and we know that Roman Wilson has the speed to get behind people. So I think he's primed for his biggest year yet. I think we're starting to see it, and Cornelius Johnson's catching the ball well too. And I was really encouraged by what I saw from Tyler Morris as a number 3 guy against UNLV in the slot there. He's going to be a really good one as well. So it's nice to see these young guys and the veterans mix. I think the future is bright for that position, and I think the passing game is ahead of where I thought it would be. And as for the run game, I'm guessing we're going to talk about that here pretty soon, but not where we need it to be at this point.
No, well, let's talk about that, because last week on the Wolverine podcast, Doug Skeen and you were talking about the offensive line, and he said, I'm not going to be worried if they're a bit clunky early, but let's have that conversation, in another few weeks. They were better against UNLV, weren't they?
They were at times, and at times, again, there was a guy here or a guy there that missed a block, and it prevented a big play. And, a 1-yard gain, for example, of Donovan Edwards, somebody on the left side misses a linebacker. Donovan Edwards should have been still running for a touchdown, and instead he gets caught for a 1 or 2 yard gain because the guy didn't do his job. And it's been one guy here, one guy there. The Colston Loveland end around, you had a receiver miss a block, and the cornerback gets a shot on him. Those are things that cannot happen. And you can't have those missed assignments and guys running across your face when you are trying to spring your backs. So, and a couple of times the backs haven't been patient enough, and that's exactly what Mike Hart said, Michigan's running backs coach, on Saturday about Blake Corum. He said, you don't have to try to hit a home run on every play. Trust the blocks. You're going to break out of there, and you're going to be fine if you're just patient enough like you had been the last 2 years. So, but there's a lot of pressure on these guys, right? They came back for a reason, and everybody's looking at Blake Corum as a potential Heisman candidate, and Donovan Edwards thinking, this guy is, it's unbelievable. He's the best backup in the country, and they just haven't lived up to that billing yet. And it's really not entirely their fault. It's a combination of things, but they need to get better. I think they will. We are going to see the same 5 starters on the offensive line this week, Mike, including Miles Hinton at right tackle, who's had his ups and downs, but was better on Saturday. And they really like Greg Nugent at center. He's really making the right calls, and the pass blocking's been fantastic. Just need to get that run game cleaned up for Big Ten play.
When it comes to fan reaction after the first few weeks, it sort of cracks me up. I find it really interesting because, last year at this time, we were hearing people say, a lot of my listeners, we've got to throw the ball more if we're going to be effective. And now this year, I'm hearing those same people say, hey, we got to get this running game on track. But, when you look at our run-pass ratio, still right around 50%, which is, where Jim said he wants it to be ideally this season. So to me, after 2 weeks, this offense really still is in a very good place. We can complain about some things, but I think, as you said, they're going to get this fixed, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, 100%. And the play action has been tremendous because of the threat of the run game, right? In the first game, East Carolina, there was nobody that was going to run against that front. Georgia, nobody, because they were bringing the safeties into the box. On the snap, they're running downhill in their zero defense, and they just had nowhere to go. And guess what? That opened up the passing game where J.J. McCarthy's throwing for 280 yards or something like that in less than 3 quarters. So that's going to be there. And you've seen the play action work. You see those linebackers stop on a dime how many times already this year. And I think the play calling's been tremendous in that respect. You don't have a coach that's going to just continue to run the ball into the line and then, beat his head against the wall. You've got a quarterback in J.J. McCarthy who can make you pay for that. And that's exactly what they're doing. And again, it'll be more interesting when we see a team try to play them straight up and cover the wide receivers with the corners and play the man straight up and make them beat them that way. And there will be talented teams that are more talented anyway and talented enough to do that. But as for right now, I'm not going to have many complaints about the way they're winning and the way they're moving the ball. Most of their drives are resulting in scores, and those that aren't are pretty darn close. They aren't punting a whole lot.
Well, let's talk about that defense for a few minutes, Chris, starting with the front 7. Again, it's only 2 games, but man, the size, the talent, and the depth up front is just flipping scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fun to watch. I like watching good defense better than watching an explosive offense, frankly, when you're stifling somebody and just completely taking the wind out of their sails like these guys are. And we expected them to dominate the fronts in these first two games, but even so, I mean, there's been no room to run for either of these teams, and the pass rush. Everybody was complaining the first week, and that ball was out so quickly. ECU, it was their game plan to make sure that their quarterback didn't get sacked, and they were getting pressure. They really were. They were in that backfield quite a bit, often with 4 guys against 6 blockers. So I had zero concerns, but I felt a lot better even after this week when they were getting back there and getting the sacks, because it's not just 1 or 2 guys. It's 4 guys collapsing that pocket where the quarterback just has nowhere to go. And that's so helpful for a team, especially a team like Michigan that's missing 3 guys in the secondary that are going to be elite for you when they come back. And Will Johnson, Rod Moore, and Makari Page, 2 of them anyway, are next level guys, are All-American candidates, and Moore and Johnson. So to be able to have that luxury and to be able to keep those linebackers clean like they have, that defensive front, when you've got linebackers that can run like Junior Colson, like Ernest Hausman, Michael Barrett, to keep them clean is absolutely huge. I love what I've seen from them. I expected it, and Kenneth Grant's the man. That's the guy that I love to watch, and him back up there with Mason Graham and Chris Jenkins, that's a trio. I can't remember a better trio on the interior that Michigan's had since I've been covering Michigan football, Mike, for 25 years, and maybe even before that.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to argue with that. And what I did on Sunday was watch the game another 2 times. And what amazes me is because these guys are so dominant up front, when I was watching Barrett and Colson and the rest of the linebacking crew, there was no one blocking them. They were, as you said, they were clean and just running to the ball, and it was consistent, which was fun to see.
Yeah, it is fun to watch. And the best part about it is they don't care who gets the sack. And we it's cliche that, it's all about team, and, we don't care who gets the sack. But you can really see it on these guys, the way they celebrate and how excited they are for each other just to play that great team defense. And it's been fantastic. So kudos to Jesse Minter, Mike Elston on the defensive line. All those guys are doing a fantastic job. And again, we haven't seen the full power of this Michigan defense because the secondary has been so depleted. Just imagine how good they're going to be when they get those guys back.
Yeah, and shouts out to the secondary the last couple of weeks. A lot of young guys, a lot of veterans, a real mix getting to play, and they've been very impressive too.
They have, yep. Keyshawn Harris out there, and I think you're going to see more guys factoring in there at the second corner position. We got to see who is going to emerge, but I was happy for those guys. Keon Sabb at safety. You worry when you've got a young guy back there. Is he going to let the ball over his head? He was always in the right position. Sophomore doing a great job out there. So, and then guys like Quentin Johnson, who haven't gotten a ton of playing time as a veteran, get out there and play some pretty good football too. So it's nice to see them play, but it's going to be really good to have a guy like Will Johnson back out there that is going to take away half the field. I just don't know how teams are going to move the ball on this defense. I really don't. And, I understand that the competition is going to get better, but when you've got that level of talent along with the smarts of these guys are always in the right position. They're extremely well coached. This is going to be one nasty defense in the entire year, I think.
Well, it's funny, Chris. Before the season started, I was excited about our offense. I thought, hey, we finally have this 50-50 mix of high-octane athletes, and we can do whatever we want, whatever we need to do on offense. But, now I think I'm more excited about the defense. And it's always been true all of our lifetime. Defenses might not be as dominant as they once were 20 or 30 years ago, but they still do win championships. And this group looks like it could be one of our elite defenses of all time, doesn't it?
It does. So they've got SEC talent on the line, and that's really been the difference, right? When you've got guys that can run, like Chris Jenkins, like Kenneth Grant, and a guy like Mason Graham, who I maintain is the best freshman defensive tackle I've ever seen at Michigan, true freshman, then you've got something special. And that's what's the difference when you play those SEC teams and when you play in a playoff. We'll see. Time will tell if the offensive line is good enough. But I can tell you this, I would take that Michigan defensive front seven with anybody's in the country at this point, including those SEC teams, because of the way they run. Their size, with the way that they can run, Junior Colson being another example at linebacker. So To me, it's frightening for opponents, and you know what? It sets the tone when you can go up there and you can collapse the pocket and make that quarterback, as my buddy Doug Skeen says, when you make that quarterback start thinking early on in a game, you affect him the entire game and can throw him off, and that can set the tone for the whole game, and that's exactly what they've been doing.
Well, another kid I wanted to single out isn't on that defense, but it's Tommy Doman. Jim said before the season, he said the kid had a generational kind of a leg, and you know what? After 2 weeks, I can see what he meant. This kid looks like he is going to be a real weapon, doesn't he?
He does. Punting the ball extremely well. His kickoffs have been good, with the exception of the one that went out of bounds. But that is, I don't think people understand how critical that is. Number one, when you've got an elite returner like UNLV did, and that kid didn't have a chance to return one kick because Tommy Doman's kicking him through the end zone. That's huge. And then the hang time he's getting on his punts. They had one blown coverage there, but hang time is huge, and he's been really good. He's been every bit as good as Brad Robbins was last year, probably better. And that's not a slam on Brad. He didn't have his best year, but he had that big leg, too, before he got hurt, where you could hear it. You know, you could hear the boom when it came off of his foot. You hear the same thing from Tommy Doman. To have him back there is an absolute weapon. So we got to hope that the field goal kicking is going to be okay. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Like if they needed a 50-something yarder at some point or something like that, if Doman came in and were to attempt that as well. I know that he doesn't want to be the field goal kicker, and that's not his strength, but he's got the leg to be able to do that too. Hopefully James Turner will continue to improve. We saw him make all of his extra points on Saturday, didn't have any field goal attempts, but you know what? Really, if there's one weakness or one potential weakness, that's it. Other than that, man, top to bottom, this is a stacked team.
Well, this Saturday under the lights, we get a visit from Bowling Green, and we all know Scott Loeffler played here. Steve Morrison was a great linebacker for us. Soup Campbell wasn't too shabby either. And that all adds a little spice to the storyline. But I saw BG play last Saturday against Eastern Illinois, and I thought they played okay. I mean, Connor Bazelak, who we've seen at IU, he looked fairly sharp. And at the end of the day, if Michigan brings their A game, this should be probably in the bag by halftime, wouldn't you say, Chris?
Yeah, I think the spread is 40,
yeah.
And which is unbelievable, you know, and it just makes you long for the days when they were playing better competition. We'll see it again too. I'm not gonna criticize them for their schedule, and especially this year with Harbaugh being out, I think it worked out pretty well. But you know, they were praising their route concepts and things like that. But BG's going to have a really hard time finding time to throw. Number one, I think Scott Loeffler's a very good football coach. Interestingly, it was Scott Loeffler who beat out Jim Harbaugh for the quarterback's coaching job at Michigan under Jim Harbaugh. So maybe there's a little rivalry there. But Jim Harbaugh had great things to say about that program. I've always liked Scott Loeffler. I've always been a big fan of his. So I wouldn't pick Michigan to cover. And part of the reason for that is because of these new rules, Mike, you know, with not stopping the clock on first downs. What we have 4 possessions in the first half on Saturday.
Right.
That's not enough football for me, man. But so I wouldn't pick Michigan to cover, but Michigan will win comfortably and then head into that Rutgers game. Rutgers has played Michigan tough the last couple of years, at least for 3 halves out of 4. So, but then we'll be ready to find out what this Michigan team is really made of.
Well, final question before we let you get away, Chris, and you just talked about it a bit with Rutgers. We're jacked up about what we've seen so far, and we know what to expect on Saturday night. But Rutgers, been able to see bits and pieces of them. It's a Greg Schiano team, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be well coached. Really, that's the first test, isn't it?
Yeah, physical on defense, and you know they came in here and easily could have won 2 years ago. People forget about that, right? That game came down to the wire. And you're going to have some of those. And I think they're going to have a great game plan for Michigan. I think offensively they're going to continue to struggle and especially struggle to move the ball against Michigan. But that's when we're going to find out, like I said, if this Michigan, how good J.J. McCarthy really is, and if Michigan can move the ball against a solid team or a decent team defensively anyway. We haven't been able to gauge that. So I'll be excited about that. But, you know, any football is good football to me. Even a Saturday night game against a MAC opponent, Mike, I'll be excited to be there. And we'll get to watch a day's worth of football before that as well, which is pretty good too.
Absolutely. Here with us today on our Michigan Game Day segment has been Chris Balas from the Wolverine magazine and the Wolverine on 3. Chris, enjoy watching you guys and keeping up with you on all of your podcasts. So we want to thank you for taking time to be with us today, and we look forward to having you back soon.
Anytime, my friend. Thanks for having me.
On Quick Hits today, not much news on the injury front this week. No injuries reported on offense, and our defense should have Will Johnson and Makari Page back. They've both been practicing. Rod Moore is still working through his injury. Here are a few game day notes of interest. Michigan and Bowling Green have met twice, and we've won both games. The last meeting with BG was on September 25th of 2015 here in Ann Arbor, a 65-21 Michigan win. Former Wolverine quarterback and BG head coach Scott Loeffler is in his 5th year as head man. His record is 14-30. Last year the Falcons were 6-7 overall, 5-3 in the MAC, and finished tied for second in the East Division. They return 11 starters, 6 on offense, 3 on defense. They played in a bowl game last year, the first in 7 years, and lost to New Mexico State 24-19 in the Quick Lane Bowl. Along with head coach Scott Loeffler, 2 other former Wolverines are on the BG staff. Steve Morrison is the co-defensive coordinator, and Eric Campbell, wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator. The weatherman is calling for a near-perfect night for football, dry, with temps at kickoff in the mid-60s, falling to near 60 later in the evening. Even though many of you don't consider BG a test, this is still an important game for us. We've been very good on both sides of the ball in the first 2 weeks, no question, but there is plenty to work on, and BG gives us that opportunity on Saturday. Plus, it's a night game in the Big House with great weather, a light show, and a full house, so it's going to be fun. Next week comes our first real test of the season when Rutgers pays a visit to the Big House. They are playing some pretty good football right now, and we'll know a lot more about our team after that encounter. On Tuesday's Visitors Edition, we'll be joined by Rutgers beat writer Patrick Lanny from NJ Advanced Media and the Newark Star-Ledger. Then on Thursday's Michigan Game Day Show, we'll hear from beat writer Austin Meek from The Athletic. So enjoy the game on Saturday, and make sure you join us again next week as we get ready for another Big Ten season. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Have a great Wolverine weekend, everyone. Think victory, beat Bowling Green. Until we meet again, take care, and as always, go blue. Thanks for joining us today on The Michigan Man, here on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. Our listener lines are open 24/7 for your calls at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Or email us at themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. That's themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan, and is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue!